Everyone, back tuning into today's video. First of all, I want to say thanks very much for all of your lovely birthday wishes and messages to well left for me on my website and on Twitter and Facebook yesterday. It means a great deal, and thanks very much for all of those lovely messages. I had a very nice birthday, and thanks a lot for sending me your best wishes. Before I get on with the video, so we'll talk about the advertising. There's video ads on my pages at GazWeatherVids.com. The video ad here on my homepage sits just above my weather video. So if you play with video ads, you support GazWeatherVids.com. And thanks very much for doing that. So we're going to have a look at the rest of October today. I did a video yesterday looking at October through to January. It's just underneath this video, so if you want to see that, check that out. But it's just going to deal with October. October is turning into quite a remarkable month. It looks like it's going to be a very, very warm month, really. Possibly at the outside, it could be a record-breaking October. So let's have a look at the detail from Hadley first of all for the Central England temperature. This is the provisional Central England temperature up to the 17th of October, so up to yesterday, and we're currently at 12.9 provisionally in terms of the CET, the Central England temperature. There it is, just there. Now that's probably a little bit overdone. It's probably a little bit lower than that, say around 12.5 or 12.6. Normally you get a correction at the end of the month with these Hadley Central England temperature figures by around 0.2 or 0.3 of a degree. But certainly it's very, very mild. If you have a look at the list of Central England temperatures going back to the year 1659, they've got the full list at Hadley, and here it is. As I say, this goes right way back to 1659. The mildest October on record was actually in the year 2001, just there. That gave us a Central England temperature of 13.3. So we're not far, provisionally anyway, we're not far from the all-time mildest October temperature since 1659, which was set in 2001 at 13.3. There's been a lot of very mild Octobers over the last few years. For instance, we have 2005 there coming out at 13.1, 2006 coming out at 13.0, and 2011, which came out a little bit cooler but still very mild at 12.6. So we've had a lot of very mild Octobers over the last decade or so. This is going to be another one. Whatever happens, I think this will be another very mild October. Whether we keep it up at into the 13, so whether we can get to the 13.3 of 2001, we're going to have to wait and see, and we'll have a look at the charts at the moment, see what they're showing for the rest of October. But certainly we're going to be somewhere in the 12s or 13 Celsius region for the Central England temperature. It is going to be one of the mildest Octobers on record, even if it's not the mildest. So let's have a look at the JMA model. This is going to show us in a moment. When it clicks over, my computer's running very, very slow this morning, annoyingly. But here we go. We've got the JMA model here. These are 500 millibar heights, which are broken down into weekly periods. This first week period is taking us from the 17th to the 24th of October. We're upside down with this, but the British Isles is just there. You know, with traditional 500 millibar height anomalies, that blue is below average heights, that's low pressure, orange and yellow is above average heights, that's high pressure. So with the British Isles just there, what we're looking at for the coming week is for low pressure to be sitting to the west and to the southwest of the British Isles. Very much the pattern that we've had over the last few weeks. Low pressure there, high pressure is down here to the south and to the southeast. So with this, you're getting a lot of southerly, southwesterly flows coming up over the next week, and that of course is a very mild direction, dragging the air up from the tropical Atlantic and from the Mediterranean. So it's not going to be cold, it's going to be warm for the coming week. Now what happens as we go through to the next week, which takes us through to the 24th to the 31st of October? Well, you see that actually a very, little difference with that. We've got the blue colour still sitting just to the west and to the northwest of the British Isles, the orange and yellow colour sitting just to the south and the southeast of the country. So no great change really going through to the second week, which takes us from the 24th to the 31st, so taking us right to the end of October. The idea is that we're still bringing up a lot of southerly and southwesterly influences through that week. The colours aren't quite as deep, so the signal is perhaps not as strong, but nevertheless that does look as though it was going out to the final week of October. There's very little change to this, which will maintain probably the warm conditions moving right through to the end of the month, if that's correct. So the generic charts, this is the GFS chart for today, with low pressure out to the west, the trough of low pressure. High pressure is to the east of the country, and we're bringing up a southerly flow, so it's very mild. If we go through to a week's time, which will take us through to Thursday, the 24th of October, well, no real change there. The low pressure is still out to the west, the high pressure is still to the east, still bringing up these southerly winds. Tight packed isobar, so it's windy, but the winds are from a southwesterly direction. So the coming week is going to be mild or very mild, certainly with heavy rain coming in from the west. Now, moving out beyond that, the GFS wants to bring this trough through across the country. That'll take a lot of heavy rain at the end of next week, and then possibly turn winds more round to a westerly. So rather than a southwesterly, we might see the winds going more westerly next weekend, the weekend of the 26th, 27th of October. That could be slightly cooler. It's not going to be cold, of course, but a westerly is slightly cooler than a southwesterly, but nevertheless, still temperatures holding up very, very nicely. You're still unsettled with these areas of low pressure moving through. Just temperatures maybe level off or just drop by a degree or two, but certainly nothing cold coming up. Now, right at the very end of October, which takes us to the 30th of October, this is 300 hours away, so right in the sort of fantasy island realm of the GFS model, then we do start to push some proper cool air through as the high pressure begins to pull out into the mid-Atlantic. We're losing the heights from the south and the southeast. We're pulling them out into the mid-Atlantic. So then the winds are being forced round to much more of a west to northwesterly direction, starting to bring some very much cooler air in from the northwest. Still not cold, but certainly a lot cooler than the southwesterly is dragging the air up from the tropics. And we go out to the start of November, still in that cooler regime, really, with the high pressure out to the west. The low pressure still coming in off the Atlantic, so still relatively unsettled, but the air is coming from a cooler direction. If you follow the isobars back, they're going much more to a cooler point in the Atlantic. But certainly much of October is looking very, very mild on this morning's evidence. Now, the ECMWF again for next Thursday, 24th of October, still dragging up that southerly to southwesterly flow. As with the GFS, the ECM wants to bring the low pressure through, the trough through, at the end of next week, which will take a lot of heavy rain, and then turn winds around again to a slightly cooler, not colder, but slightly cooler westerly direction into the weekend of the 26th and the 27th of October. We aimed at a 10-day period, bringing these westerlies through across the country. Still not cold, but a little bit cooler than the air that's being dragged up from the tropical Atlantic just at the moment. And finally, the GEM, again, we take that trough through at the end of next week, taking heavy rain across the country, and then it probably turns a little bit cooler going into next weekend. And to a 10-day period, the idea with GEM is that we're trying to reach high pressure back into the south. So that's still very mild, actually, even going right to the end of October. Still very mild there, with the air generally coming from a southwesterly to southerly flow. So we've got to start thinking about a very warm October, a very, very mild month. Whether it's the mildest on record, whether we beat 2001, I should say, which recorded central temperature of 13.3, we may not do, but certainly we're going to be within the realm of those sort of temperatures for October. So it's going to turn out to be one of the warmest Octobers on record. And of course it follows on from the very hot July that we had, which was the warmest since 2006. But remember, the first half of the year was very, very cold. It really is turning into quite an extraordinary year, 2013. First half very cold, second half potentially looking very warm. But of course, when you get these warm Octobers, what often happens, it happened in 2005 and it happened in 2001 to some degree, is that once you get to November, you very often get a flip and it turns much colder. So I think as we get into November, at some point we're going to find the weather turning a lot colder. That's my view, and I suspect that the leaves are never really going to change colour probably this year, particularly in the south. They're probably never going to have a thaw. What's probably going to happen is that we're just going to have a switch from very mild temperatures to much colder temperatures, and the leaves will probably get frozen off in the end. That's what happened in 2005. A really warm October, then a flip occurred in November 2005, and eventually the leaves, they never really turned colour, they just got frozen off from the tree. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we get into November. I think we're going to get some cold weather at some point, maybe later on in November. The start of November could be quite mild still, but I think as we get into November, we're going to get some colder weather. But October looking a really warm month. Will it be the warmest on record, or will we fall just short of it? I'll keep you posted. That's it for now. It's a weekend forecast tomorrow, so come back for that. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.